Hey everyone, welcome back to Topher Drives, where today, thanks to Kia of Canton, we're driving this 2008 Mitsubishi Eclipse Spyder GS. You all asked for more used cars, so here you go. We're starting off today with what is arguably the most underappreciated generation of Eclipse. Every gen before this is either collectible or iconic for its own reason, but the fourth gen never really got its big break. Of course, the second gen, probably one of the most iconic movie cars of all time, driven by Paul Walker in the first Fast and Furious. The third gen Eclipse, driven by Tyrese in Too Fast, Too Furious. And the first gen is just cool. It's becoming collectible at this point, very hard to find. But the fourth gen, it never really caught on, and it may explain why this was the last generation of Mitsubishi Eclipse before they pulled the plug and then, like 10 years later, turned it into some gawping SUV called the Eclipse Cross. But anyway, the funny piece of lore actually about the fourth gen Eclipse is that it was actually the star of a movie that never really caught on called Four Wedding Planners, that even weirder actually starred Sung Kang, who plays Han in Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift. So kind of a weird connection there. But the moral of the story is nobody ever really looks at these twice. And I kind of want to find out why today. Maybe someday these will become collectible. People will look back at this video and be like, I wish I could have bought this for $5,000 at the time that this was filmed. But anyway, today we're gonna walk you around this Mitsubishi Eclipse Spyder. We'll show you what it looks like inside and out, and then we're gonna commute this to downtown, because what if you want a $5,000 commuter, but you don't just wanna go and buy a Kia Rio or something, you wanna actually have some fun? Well, maybe this thing can do it all. So this is a GS, this is the base model. You could actually have a V6 in the fourth gen Eclipse, but this one does not have that. This has a 2.4 liter naturally aspirated four-cylinder, the 4G69. In this configuration, makes 162 horsepower and 162 pound-feet of torque. It's front-wheel drive, and this one has a 4-speed automatic transmission. You could also have a manual, but this one just has the slush box. This was the base model car, as I said. It started in 2008 around $26,000, which was quite expensive. That is 38 grand in today's money, and even back in the day, this was approaching Mustang GT convertible money for 162 horsepower, 4-speed automatic slush box thing. That back in the day, I don't know that people really thought it looked pretty, but I actually don't mind the looks of this now. I like the clear kind of Altezza style taillights, of course for my own reason, because I own an IS300, but I don't really think this is that offensive looking of a car. This one's finished in Misai Gray. We have 17-inch wheels on this car. This has some, what is this, Mastercraft tires in a 225/50R17 squared setup. I imagine the dealer put these on when this was traded in, and this is kind of more of like a wholesale to the public car, so it has its issues. The TPMS light is on. There are some interior bits that are missing, but they're offering this thing for like $5,000. It's only got 94,000 miles on it, so some bits of it are actually still pretty clean. The paint's in pretty good shape. The convertible top is in pretty good shape. Unfortunately, the previous owner put some dark tint on this car, so apologies for the interior. It's probably going to be a little bit dark on today's drive, but let's go ahead and walk you around this. I've got both keys to it here. That's what the key looks like. Let's pop the trunk. Maybe the other key. There we go. You can see this sold new at Lindsay Mitsubishi. You can see that's kind of faded in there. I don't know where Lindsay Mitsubishi is. Someone look that up and let me know. You can see in the trunk here we have our floor mats. Not going to put those in because I don't want to get them dirty for the dealership that's so graciously letting me film this today. But pretty small trunk considering that this is a convertible. But it is wide enough for, wait for it, golf clubs. They will fit in here if you need them to. The entire inside of the trunk lid is damp. Interesting. We have this huge piece of trim that goes along the trunk that's kind of like a spoiler, but it's clear like a light. So I don't know if that's a reflector or actually it's the third brake light. You can see that there. This one has a trailer hitch. Maybe somebody had a bike rack on this at one point, and as you can see, something's going on with the muffler. It's melting the bumper, and it does have a bit of an exhaust leak, so we'll be able to hear this 2.4 liter in all of its glory. But speaking of the 2.4, why don't we pop the hood and show you what it looks like. Hood release is red, so easy to see here. No hood struts, but that's to be expected. And there you go. There's that 4G69 naturally aspirated 4-cylinder. I'm going to warm my freezing dry cracked hands on the exhaust manifold here. Not really too much to see. And this does actually look quite small in here because, again, like I said, you could get this with a V6 and a manual transmission. So you could have a spicy configuration on this. But that one, of course, was even more expensive. So most people just went and bought a Ford Mustang. Cool. All right, guys, well, I am freezing, so let's go ahead and jump in this Eclipse Spyder. We're going to put the roof down. It's like 29 degrees out, but we're dedicated. We're going to drive a couple miles with the roof down just to test kind of wind buffeting and things, and also just to get some light in this cabin. I'm going to go full Tedward, except usually when he braves the cold, he's in some kind of classic inline-six Jag or old Porsche 356 or something. We are simply in a $5,000 Eclipse. But anyway, I do like these seats. They're a pretty soft cloth. The bolster is completely blown out on this one. You can see we have some worn cloth on the seat base. These are completely manual, but I do think they look cool. I like this bit here, the kind of headrest that was formed into the seat. We have a leather-wrapped steering wheel, which I think looks quite nice. We have cruise control. Very simple, feels good in the hands, and no buttons on this thing. It's quite a bit more of a horn than I thought it would have. Okay, let's go ahead and fire it up and see what this thing is like to drive. But actually, we'll fire it up and then we'll put the top down first. Show you that operation. Can hear that exhaust leak there. Oh yes, also the grab handle for the driver's door has been ripped off. I don't even know how you accomplish that, but the previous owner of this did. So you kind of have to play this dangerous game of grabbing it by the window and then quickly moving your hand so you don't get your fingers cut off. To lower the roof in the 4G Eclipse, you have two manual latches that are actually pretty easy. There we go. Also, somebody peeled all the fabric off of the sun visors. I would quite like to meet the previous owner of this car. I have so many questions for them. But once you have that done, once these latches are released, it's as simple as pushing the open button down here below our climate control panel. See, this top still works just like the day it was new. There you go. Get the confirmation that the roof is latched. Okay, I maybe should have done the rest of the interior tour before I put the top down, but we'll just kind of turn the heat up and we will get through it. This one has an aftermarket radio, which I'm actually going to pair my phone to so we can do a sound system test later. I know you could get these with a Rockford Fosgate. Oh, this one does have it. It says Rockford Fosgate on that subwoofer in the back. Okay, so this is the factory Rockford Fosgate sound system. We'll do a test on that. I'm just going to pair my phone real quick to this Pioneer head unit. Let's get the earmuffs out. We're going to need those. But I think the coolest thing in this interior, besides just the overall simplicity of it all, is this automatic shifter, because what they've done, or what I think they've tried to do here, is make it look like the top of the transmission is poking into the interior. You can see we have this silver trim that mimics, I assume, what they think the top of a transmission looks like. But it's kind of cool, you know, I like the little bit of imagination. Otherwise, not too much going on in here. You have this tiny little display up above your climate vents. It says My Eclipse, which is a lie. This is not My Eclipse. And then we have the time there, which is correct, 12:43. In front of us, you can see just a very simple analog gauge cluster. This revs to 6,500 RPM, and apparently will go 160 miles an hour. I don't believe that for a second. Fuel gauge, temp gauge, and that is just it. These base model Eclipses did not get traction control, so if you did have it, it would be a switch right here. This one doesn't, but it does have fog lights. Very interesting spec and configuration here. We have some cup holders that fold away. As you saw, a pretty deep and usable center console. I'm quite impressed with that. In the glove box, we have our original manuals, you can see. That was what the GT looked like. Actually a pretty handsome car. Now that I'm looking at this, some ground effects kit on this Spyder GT. Pretty cool. Okay, let's take this thing for a drive and see what it's like on the road. Into reverse. I'm actually not super cold right now, but I know it's gonna happen as soon as I go over like 10 miles per hour. Put this into drive. I like this kind of baseball style shifter, though I do wish this was a manual. We will get through the automatic experience together today. I'm gonna stick these earmuffs on real quick. I'm sure I will be judged by 0 passerbys. Four-speed automatics are so funny. It's kind of like driving a CVT. It's just a big slush fest. This does actually have a manual mode for this 4-speed, which you know we're going to try later. It gets up to speed just fine, honestly. Just a bit over 3,000 pounds, so 162 horsepower. Really not the end of the world. Actually, the wind buffeting is not that bad. I think with this windshield being kind of so sloped back, diminishes some of that wind buffeting. Up here. So this has hydraulic power steering, but it's very light. Not a whole lot of feel to this front end. Could have to do with some tired suspension components. I wouldn't be surprised. You can see there's a little bit of play in the steering. Ride quality, it's stiff, but it's not crashy. I think this is probably about the kind of ride you would want to have in one of these. We're going to pull over here and put the roof up. I can't take this anymore. But we had to try it. We had to do it. Okay, let's see what it can do around the corner. Not bad. Kick down from the 4-speed is just fine. All right, if you've braved it through these few convertible miles, thank you. We're gonna pull over just up here and put the roof up. But honestly, a pretty pleasant convertible experience. This is not blustery at all. Good job, mid-2000s Mitsubishi engineers. That's the thing too, is this was, I think, kind of the tail end of Mitsubishi making cool cars. Obviously, they made the Evo until like 2015 or whatever it was, but this was kind of the last run, the last wave of interesting cars that Mitsubishi made. Because this was it. The Eclipse died after the 4th gen and it never came back. Okay, imagine you probably have to be in park. That's it. Windows up. Ooh. The electronics don't super love that. Okay, let's latch this top back down. And there we go. We're back in business. Top is up. We are going to get some heat going in here. Please go into drive. Thank you so much. Okay. Let's get this back out on the road. And honestly, why don't we see how it gets off the line? I'm not going to brake boost it, but we'll kind of roll into it and see how acceleration is. There's 60. Somebody time that. It's not that slow. It's fine. It gets it done. Let's try manual mode. Looks like... that actually works fine. I'm not mad at this manual mode. Will it downshift? Oh, yeah. That reacts way faster than I thought it would for a couple of reasons. This is a 2008, and also this is a 4-speed. I didn't think it would. It'll even go into first gear. All right, we're going to do some manual shifting for a second. Why not? It is in the wrong direction, but we'll forgive them. You guys see this on camera? The wheels are about to fall off of this Equinox. So let's go ahead and get by that. Back into drive. Pretty maneuverable. I mean, this car is a good size. I feel like convertibles have gotten quite large. Even though this is a 2+2 configuration, I don't really think you're using those back seats for anything. Change, thank you. It's got to hold on to every second of that gear. Look at this, a person that knows how to merge at speed. Imagine that. Love to see it. Okay, this has the Toyota style cruise control. So you push this button, push down, and that is your cruise set. Lower the speed by pushing down on it, raise the speed by pushing up on the stalk. And I know I say this every time I drive a car that's a bit out of the ordinary, but genuinely, this is not as loud as I thought it would be. It really does fine. Even this blown out driver's seat. Okay, no, it's the seat is not very comfortable. It's pretty hard. The backrest is kind of like a piece of cardboard. The seat bottom is a little bit nicer, and obviously this is a 94,000 mile 17-year-old car. So results may vary on the Eclipse that you buy or you have. Even the exhaust leak is kind of quiet at 3,000 RPM. That's the thing with this 4-speed automatic is obviously you only have so many gears, so at highway speeds around 80 mile an hour you are revved at 3,000 RPM. I'll put our fuel economy on the screen. That's one thing that I forgot to look up, but there you go. If I had to guess, I'd say it's probably somewhere in the mid-20s. Does this have a one-touch turn signal? It does not. Nice kickdown. Honestly, this is the most responsive 4-speed automatic that I've ever interacted with. Okay, let's talk about ergonomics here in the cabin of the 4th gen Eclipse. Well, this one would be better if the door pull was not ripped off, but once you're actually sitting in the car, I feel like surfaces are a little bit low. The armrest on this door panel, very low down. So if you want to be resting your arm, you kind of have to position your hand on the steering wheel like this. Center console, that is hard plastic, so you do not have comfy elbows here in this Eclipse whatsoever. Seating position, though, is actually quite nice. With the way that this car is designed, you can't see the hood, or I can't see the hood. I've got the seat where I want it to be, and I can only see just the foreground of this hood here. But like I mentioned earlier, I really like the steering wheel. It feels nice in the hands. I like the leather wrapping, even though the stitching is coming apart a bit here on this side. But honestly, material-wise, the interior seems to have held up decently. I think maybe the previous owner may have been somewhat abusive to this car. There are signs of that. But like this gray plastic, this looks fine. Dashboard looks okay. It's not cracked anywhere. Windshield washer. No. That's... Come on, get me some fluid up higher. Oh dear. I think I may have made things worse by doing that. Okay, so only one of the sprayers works, and not in a very good fashion. Visibility out of this car is bad. I can't see hardly anything out of the back. Of course, it's a convertible, so you'll have that, and you can solve that issue by driving with the top down. However, today I don't want to do that because it's very cold, and I already did. Side view mirrors also not really positioned the best, but you can't see the haunches of this thing in the mirror. It's got some decent hips on it. Quite a few interior rattles, some cowl shake. Everything feels a bit loose, but this is a convertible, so you're kind of always going to have that since you don't have that solid roof structure. Also, this is a TPMS issue. I checked all 4 tires before I set off. I brought my little portable tire pump with me just to make sure we were safe. We are all good. All tires are set to 32 PSI. Oh my goodness, guys, should we let the 4G69 sing under the bridges? I don't know. I don't know if we should. Chassis on this honestly feels pretty good. I was a bit distracted with the top being down earlier around the first corner, but it feels decently planted. Let's see what we got here. This is gonna be... That's a noise. Oh no, please go up. Thank you. Please go up. Thank you so much. All right. Well, I think it's time to do a sound system test on this Rockford Fosgate system. I think the only vehicle now that uses a Rockford Fosgate is the Polaris Slingshot. Put on natural. Ready for some power from this subwoofer behind us. As we roll into town in the Eclipse GS. You guys ready for this? Brake test. All right, that's enough. That's enough. Please turn off. Okay, I think it's done. It's over with. May have some blown speakers in this, or maybe that's just the way it sounded, but I have a hard time believing that's the way it's supposed to sound. We actually have steering wheel buttons here on the back, kind of like you would see in a Stellantis product still today, that would have controlled the radio from the factory. However, this one has an aftermarket unit, so they don't do anything anymore. You know what? I'm sad for this car. This was kind of the beginning of the end for Mitsubishi, the start of the demise. I can't even believe Mitsubishi still exists in the US market, to be so for real. Like, it is surprising to me that they, in the last 10 years, have not gone out of business. Maybe if they would have continued making the Eclipse, they would be in better shape now, but since they pulled the plug, everything has gone wrong. This car was the brick that was holding Mitsubishi together. And I know we kind of joked around about how previous Eclipses are so iconic, and this one was never even given the time of day by Hollywood, and I think that may say something about the car overall. I don't think it's so bad, but it's not exciting me in any way, and I think other people kind of agreed with that. I know this is the base model, and I do need to go and find a GT with the 3.8, I think it was the 3.8 liter V6. But I think just overall in here, just kind of the blandness of the interior, which isn't always a bad thing. There's just not a lot going on. But I kind of wish this car would have been given some more chances. I have seen some really cool modified ones, even like some of the factory modified ones like we saw on the service booklet. All right, guys, well, as we kind of wrap this up and finish our commute, let's talk about how this was as a commuter. Honestly, it did just fine. It didn't really beat me up too bad. It's loud, the sound system's terrible. The seat is just all right. I think the biggest perk here is just kind of the ease of use, the easy cruise control, the easy climate control. But that's just, it's a 2008, so obviously it's gonna be easy to operate. I hope my window rolls back up once I get my parking ticket. We'll test maneuverability. It's going to put that back window down too. Okay. It is an auto down window though, which is nice.
Please select an event. Welcome.
Look at that. Actually at a pretty good height. That's going to go in the passenger seat because of the sun visor incident. Oh yeah. Okay, it is now pitch black. Let's turn the headlights on. Looks like we have blue-faced gauges. That's fun. See, this is the thing with window tints. This is why I don't like them, because if you're driving at any time of day that isn't day, you can't see anything. I've got no peripheral vision right now. And these are not even very dark tints either. So, you know, imagine people that are rolling around with 5% tints. They can't see. Even if they tell you they can see, they are lying. You trying to sleep, the Honda Civic in front of your house at 3 o'clock in the morning. I don't think this would really sound too bad with a proper exhaust. What is rattling? I think it's the windows. It is the windows. Okay guys, let's wrap this up on this 4th gen Eclipse Spyder. We'll actually put the top down so you can see what it looks like from the outside. We are going to have to park before I can get that to go down. Can't get that latch released from this side, but anyway, that was fun. I do definitely want to start doing more used cars because they always have little quirks. They're always entertaining in some way. There is a pile of vomit right there. So we're not gonna end the video. I'll blur that so you guys don't have to see it, but there was a huge pile of sick. Okay, we'll just park it over here where we ended the Sentra video. But we'll park it on an angle because guess what? There's nobody up here today. So we get to hard park the 4G Eclipse. Into park. Put our parking brake up since we're on a hill. And stand by. I'm going to try and get this roof down for you guys so you can see it in Spyder form. Imagine this breaks and it won't go back up for my drive home. It's worth it for the video. You know, a lot of convertibles from 2008 no longer have functioning tops, so we'll give the Eclipse credit for that. Oh yeah, looks even better with the roof down. Check that out. Cool, guys. All right, well, I hope you had fun. It was a fun one for me, and let me know in the comments if you own one of these, if you know somebody that owns one. Maybe one of your parents had one growing up or something, but I don't really see these too much anymore, so I'd be curious if any of you have any 4G Eclipse stories. But I had fun driving this today, and it's a shame that this was the end of the Eclipse. It didn't really go out with a bang, as this is not the most positively viewed Eclipse ever. But let me know also what your favorite generation of Eclipse is. I think mine's got to be the second generation, the OG Fast and Furious hero car. But cool. All right, well, that'll wrap it up for us today. Thank you guys all so much for watching. Let me know what other used cars you want to see, and we will see you in the next one. Take care.